I'm Dr. Somil Parikh, and I am the residency director here. I've been the residency director for the last 5 years. It started in 2016. But before then, I was here since 2012, and I was the assistant and then the associate program director. Before that, I was at Maimonides Medical Center, which is also where I trained from 2004 to 2007. And I was a clerkship director there for a little bit, and then I was an attending, and then I moved to Queens. So I've been here. I've been in emergency medicine for about 15, 16 years. I love everything about residency and training and education, and I'm super happy to be here today to talk about our program, NYPQ. But before I do that, I like to introduce the other faculty that have joined us, and I will start with Neo Yoneda. Neo, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to get to meet you and get to sit here and speak to you guys. I am the associate residency director here at Queens. I am a graduate of the program. I graduated in 2014. So I've been here for a number of years. I have a ton of love for the program. It's like my heart and soul. I am from Flushing, so this is my neighborhood hospital. This is where my neighbors come to get treated. I see my neighbors, family of friends all the time. It's an amazing population to work with, and I'm super excited to get to speak to you guys. I'm also the director of the Medical Education Fellowship, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Neo. Sumintra, Dr. Wood, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sumintra. I'm one of the APDs at New York Presbyterian Queens. I have been in New York for all of my training in medicine, med school and residency at Sinai, and I did an education fellowship at Maimonides. So it's really great to be part of this program. I really like, as Neo said, I really like the community we serve, and I really love our residents. I think they're pretty awesome. So it's just great to be here.
Okay, thank you, Sumintra. And Anika, are you here? I see you logged on. If you're here, say hi, say hello. There we go. You're on.
Me? Are you talking about me? Is it my turn?
Yeah, just introduce yourself. We're
Sorry, my internet's not working in my house. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Hi, everyone. My name's Anika. Am I choppy? Am I good?
No, you're good. You're good. Just
okay.
Tell us your story. Where you're from, that sort of thing.
Yes. My name's Anika. I am from Florida originally. I went to medical school at St. George's and then did my residency at NYPQ, did my fellowship at NYPQ. I'm in charge of the fellowship for simulation. And then now I am a full-time attending, so I definitely drank the Kool-Aid. I'm also in charge of wellness for the residents. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I'm very happy to be in New York City. I clearly changed homes from down south to now up here. I live in Manhattan. It's probably one of the greatest places to live. And one of the best parts of working at this program is number one, the people, residents, faculty, everyone. We're like one big family. I know, cheesy.
Well, don't worry. I'm going to talk about the family in a little bit. Let's go on to the residents. So, Somil, you look like a DJ, spinning your set, but he's actually a resident. Somil, you want to tell us about yourself and your level and how you came to NYPQ?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Somil. I am originally from New York. I did everything in New York. I was a transfer resident. I was in another program that closed, and I graciously got the opportunity to come here. I don't think I would have been happier anywhere else. It's just a blessing to be here. Everyone is super welcoming and friendly, and my training up to this point has been sensational.
Sensational.
Yeah, that's about it. I love it here.
I worked at Sawmill last night. He rocked it
Yeah.
out. Good shift.
Yes, and so
With us.
Somil, that's Somil Patel, not to be confused with Somil,
Not the program director. Yes.
but still nonetheless a great Somil. All right, Brian Smith.
How's it going, y'all? I'm Brian. I'm one of the PGY2s here, originally from Long Island. Went to NYCOM, and now I'm here. I am also currently drinking the Kool-Aid of this program. We are the best residency. We're all friends here, and I love how close we all are. Yeah, that's all I got.
Suji.
Hey guys, I'm Suji. I am one of the interns here, PGY1. I am originally from Virginia, and I did my undergrad at UVA, med school at KCU in Kansas City, and I arrived here in New York because I also drink the Kool-Aid, and so I love the program here. We're all friends. There's no discrimination between the years. And even among the attendings, we're all like a big family. And so definitely love the program here.
So everybody keeps talking about the Kool-Aid and drinking the Kool-Aid, and that's like sounds like very like
Salty.
But
It's not what I'm called.
It is called
Delicious, and it's not poisonous.
It just tastes good. That's all.
Yeah.
in this case, the Kool-Aid is really, really good and tasty. You should drink it because it's amazing. Okay, and then lastly, I think we have Kristen Kobayashi here. Say hi, Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm from California, actually, and I went to Toro, California. And what brought me out here was also the people. It sounds cliche to keep saying that, but we're like really all friends. We hang out like every week after conference, hang out tomorrow. So it's really fun when like, you know, residency can be tough, but we have each other and like we go out all the time. So it's really great. And I feel like I'm learning a lot too. Lots of sick patients here.
I don't get tired of hearing that. I'm kind of a funny person as well, but I never get tired of it. Not cliche.
Okay, I'm gonna start kind of talking just because I don't want to run out of time. I think we made a big error here, and we kind of had a Zoom link and a webinar link, and I think one got posted to our blog, which is where we are right now, and I think another link was mailed to people who signed up. So what I might ask is, Neo or Sumintra, if you can, while I'm talking, perhaps just communicate with Lily. If people are in that other Zoom, maybe in the chat, she can just redirect people here.
I'm trying. So this is the issue. I think somehow ended up being the webinar on this on the website, and so I'm resending it to everyone. But you can't even get into the other Zoom meeting. So that's not even possible. So I can't redirect. People have been emailing, so I'm gonna try to send it back out again, and then hopefully. So just ignore me while I do that, and then carry on.
Okay, so I'm gonna carry on the best I can. This is also recorded, so we can put this on our blog and people can watch it a bit later. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, you can.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna spend the next 20 minutes talking about why New York Presbyterian Queens Emergency Medicine Residency Program is the best program in the whole wide world, because it clearly is. This is why it's the best residency in the world, because we are truly an NYPQ family here. We're more than just colleagues at work. We are a family. I know that sounds a little cliche, perhaps. Maybe a lot of program directors and a lot of places will say that they're a family, and that's not necessarily a lie. But I will tell you here that it is this is the honest truth. We are at the end of the day, we are a bit of a smaller residency when you compare ourselves to some of these big New York conglomerates like like Mount Sinai or North Shore LIJ. We are a smaller residency at the end of the day, which provides for a very cozy / intimate family vibe. And over the years, just to give you a little history, we started in 2004. Our first graduating class was 2007. So over the years, we've graduated over 15 classes of residents and fellows. So over 150 people have joined our alumni network, plus all the current fellows and residents. So we truly are a part of something bigger, the NYPQ family. And this is why you really want to come here, because you want to get to know us and be part of us. This is more recent picture. This was a wellness event that we did at, what's it called? Gantry Park, right underneath the Pepsi Cola sign. Queens, and especially Long Island City, is a super fun place. And we always are doing wellness events throughout Queens and some of the other boroughs as well. So why this program? So first of all, 2 thumbs up. This is Omar Halal, who just graduated. He just wanted to really be in the PowerPoint, and so he has this creepy mustache, and I like this picture, so I obliged him, and he's in the PowerPoint, but he gives it 2 thumbs up. But why this program? We are a fully accredited program, ACGME, fully accredited. We are a 3-year residency. We're a level 1 trauma center, a STEMI receiving center, a comprehensive stroke center, and we are affiliated with Cornell Medical School. All of our faculty are Cornell faculty, appointed as Cornell faculty, and we're also part of the New York Presbyterian system, which is the same system as Methodist, Columbia, and Cornell, which is highly ranked in New York and in the United States. Actually, 2021's recent News and World Reports edition basically ranked NYP 7th in the nation. We are a large tertiary teaching hospital with amazing ancillary services. You're not spending your whole shift putting in lines and taking people to X-ray and CAT scan. We have great ancillary services, so you have the time to be a doctor. You are seeing a lot of patients. The volume is quite intense here, 120 to 130 visits per year. It gives you plenty of opportunity to see patients. By the time you are a senior, you are seeing almost 2.5 patients per hour, and so you get a lot of clinical experience. Obviously, this number dropped a little bit with the pandemic, but we are slowly moving our way back up there. We also have a high acuity. If you are to take out pediatrics and urgent care, which are the lower acuity areas, we are admitting about 38% of our people from the main ED, which is, that's 2 out of every 5 patients is getting admitted to the hospital. So a very sick patient population in general. Why else this program? So we pride ourselves here in the way we learn. We learn through modern and up-to-date modalities. We do not believe in death by PowerPoint and just sitting in a classroom and getting lectured at. We are up, we are moving around, we are doing small groups. We have, small groups with, 4 to 5 residents per faculty member, which makes a great environment for learning. And a lot of our didactics are involves kinesthetic learning that's interactive, immersive, and hands-on. So whether that's in the sim lab, which we do every single week, or manning the probe and scanning in the ED, doing small group didactics a couple of times a year. We go to cadaver lab. We also do a lot of learning through our blog and other podcasts and social media. We also do a lot of our learning through Foundations in Emergency Medicine, which is a great way to learn because it is you can optimize it depending on what type of learner you are. So if you're a visual learner, it's great for you. If you're an audio learner, it's great for you. If you're a reader and a writer, it's great for you. Why else this program? There is plenty of research support and opportunities. Many of our faculty here are engaged in scholarly activity, and they are always looking for residents to help them with projects. If research is your thing, we definitely have it here. If research is not your thing, we'll help you get through the research, but we do have quite a bit of research opportunities. When I consider research, I also consider research and scholarly activities. So sometimes people are not necessarily doing quote unquote clinical research, but they're doing a variety of other things like writing for blogs or writing articles for newspapers, or doing other scholarly activity. There's plenty of international opportunities. We have 4 fellowships here. Ultrasound has probably been around the longest, but since then we've also had an administrative fellowship, a simulation fellowship that started in 2015, and an education fellowship that Dr. Yoneda is the director of. The simulation fellowship that Dr. Anika Nikolani, who's here, is the fellowship director of. These are all have all come a long way in the last 5 years. Why else this program? Well, it's the patients, right? The patients make this place. There are no patients like the patients at Queens. That just sounded like Donald Trump. But yes, we have the best patients, right? We have the best patients. So first of all, let's talk about the diversity. Again, program directors are going to tell you that we see the most diverse patient population. I got to tell you, I can very, very confidently say that we see the most diverse patient population ever. We have over 130 different languages spoken in our ED. We have great translator services. We have about 30 to 35% of our patients are of Eastern Asian origin, mainly Chinese, but also a ton of Korean patients. We also have about 20 to 25% Hispanic patients. So if you know medical Spanish or you know Spanish, your Spanish will definitely come in handy here. And then we have pretty much everything else. We have lots of patients from the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. We have Italians, we have French Creole, we have Arabic, we have, you name it, we have it. We have Russian, lots of Russian patients. So Queens County is probably one of the most diverse places you'll ever encounter in your life, and we are in the heart of it. We are also, as I mentioned before, a primary cardiac and stroke center. We're really the only primary residency program in Queens County, so you're not competing with a lot of nearby residencies. Yes, there's Elmhurst Hospital, which is staffed by Mount Sinai in the city, in Manhattan, but we are only primary. We are the only primary EM residency program in Queens. And we're the receiving facility for a lot of these nearby facilities. So you get a lot of patients from Citi Field, especially when there's sporting events, music events, that sort of thing, as well as sporting events from the, from the US Open, and as well as LaGuardia and even JFK. So again, just to drive it home, the patients here are really what make this place. These are all just patients that we've had here in our ED. You have everything from trauma to soft tissue injuries to pediatrics. To this was an uncle hernia. This was actually a brain herniation through a skull fracture. You name it, we see it. And the patients here are just super nice, right? They are kind of a hybrid of not necessarily county patients, not necessarily affluent community patients that are all connected to PMDs. You have both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. So we truly are like a hybrid of many types of program out there. You'll see uninsured people with limited access to healthcare and resources, a little bit of that county feel, but you'll also have patients who are insured and everything, like I said, in between. We're technically, if you need to, label us, we are a community hospital that serves the community of Flushing, but we have a very strong academic affiliation to Weill Cornell Medical School. So that is the gist of kind of just maybe the kind of foundation of who we are. Now I'm going to switch it over to Dr. Wood, who is going to talk a bit about our didactics, our Wednesday didactics and our conference.
Thank you, Samuel. So I just want to just mention one thing that he said about the patients. I find myself saying on shift, like, wow, like this is such a nice person, this is such a nice person, like all the time, which is like, I don't know. I'm quite grateful for how great our community is, and they honestly come in so sick. Sometimes I'm just like, why is everyone? There'll be days where I'm like, why is everyone so sick? And I remember I had like an overnight shift. Major props to Nao because she works like only nights, but we had like an overnight shift, and one of the residents was like, "This is like being in a critical care like shift, except it's like our night shift as well." And I hadn't even like thought about it, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's right. Like we have this DKA patient, this person like with like active bleeding, and like this GI bleeder, like this and that," and you're just like see so much, and I feel like our community is just a very like mixed group of people. Some of them have lots of care, some of them don't, like Dr. Parikh said. But they tend to come in when something's really wrong. And I think some of the I feel like the residents don't realize it because this is their only program that they've ever worked in. But yeah, people don't come in that often just because they want like a checkup or like a fourth opinion. They come in because they probably avoided the hospital for a while and now something really bad is happening. So it feels like you're doing real emergency medicine. I think what most people signed up for when they decided this field, which is a good feeling. But onto conference. So I'm very proud of our conference. I think it's one of our best features of this program. In part of what Dr. Parikh said about the diversity of things we offer. So we have a really nice breakdown of different things that we do on different days. So some of it's the foundations curriculum, which is an organized EM core curriculum that is across the nation. And that gives kind of like a sort of bread and butter look at emergency medicine that's all small group based. And I think it's just a nice way of sharing ideas and sharing like sort of patient presentations, usually divided by your class, like your class year, so that people can feel comfortable asking questions related to their level of experience. And then we have a lot of other things, like we have different days that are just dedicated to procedure lab and running through oral boards. We reinstated our cadaver lab this summer, which is, I think, something that the residents really like because you actually get to go to a facility and do procedures on cadavers. So you really get that sort of hands on experience as opposed to just doing sort of simulation. But our simulation program is also really amazing. So not to knock it, it's incredible. And we do that every week too, which is something that I think that not a lot of programs do. They don't always incorporate sim so heavily into their conference day, and we do. And I think the residents really love that, and they feel like they're always doing something that's like hands-on and active, and like using their brain in different ways, which is awesome. And then on top of that, we have different sort of like small group cores, which talk about like toxicology or critical care, or if it's like Brian Smith, some sort of weird like Kahoot Jeopardy thing. But that's, I think, what I like about our program is that if residents have specific ideas of what they want to do to sort of teach their peers, we welcome that. And so it's very interactive, and it's very like, as Suji was saying, it doesn't feel like a hierarchy. Like it doesn't feel like, you know, you can't say what you want or do the things that you want for your own education. And then we have like a lot of different series. We have like an MCRIT series that goes over like specific critical care emergency medicine concepts, like managing an unstable GI bleeder or like managing an intracranial bleed. We do a whole series on that. And on top of that, we have our grand rounds, which is we do every month, and that is like such a joy to get people from all over New York and all over the country to speak on different topics. And let me see, I'm trying to go through and think of all the different things. Oh yeah, the latest thing that we've been doing is we started doing this sort of escape the room concept, which I don't know, maybe Nao can explain it a little bit more, but it's basically you doing different kinds of puzzles and different kinds of activities in teams that are related to some sort of emergency medicine question or, you know, like concept. And so you kind of have to think really quickly and work as a team to come up with the answer, but it's also fun because you're playing a game. So I think that's like a really cool way of learning, and we're trying to work on a new one for next week. Actually, next week is it's like the one that's coming up. So there's all these like really cool ideas that make learning, I think, fun and not so boring. And again, we're always open to having new ideas. Like we have a whole new house system, which maybe Dr. Smith can talk about at some point, which is another way of getting people to feel like invested in their own education and sort of doing their own thing to learn and win points for their team.
Yeah, I gotta say the one thing, just the take home point is conference is not boring. It is not boring. Our residents love joining conference, especially because they're all together in one place, and it's such a variety of different interactive things that it never gets boring, and it's never the same. 2 days in a row. So. This is kind of an outline of what we do for asynchronous learning. I don't know, Naya, you want to talk a little bit about our asynchronous program?
Yes, so we have organized asynchronous activities for the residents. We try to make it as, sorry, let me leave this other. We try to make it as seamless and integrated into your synchronous or in person and didactic curriculum. It's made to challenge you. It's made to give you some flexibility to do it in your own time. And like the rest of our curriculum, we try to really incorporate feedback from the residents. So we've gone through a plethora of different resources, question banks. Review is kind of like the ubiquitous question bank that people use for board review, but also the peer series, Hippo, Allium. And we try to really take that feedback, not only during our annual review, which is where we get together and let the residents air their grievances, give us feedback, and let us know what they really think, what is working and what is not. But on a regular, the residents also have a anonymous suggestion box that they can utilize any day, or they can just come to us and say, this resource isn't really working for me. So we try to keep things transparent. We try to keep things ever changing and flexible, and we try to keep our ear to the streets as far as what's working. But I think that we have a pretty good system now that, we try not to overwhelm the residents with too many responsibilities. I think our asynchronous learning calendar is pretty fair, but we try to make it so that the residents are getting as much out of it as possible.
Thank you, Nao. Let's see. So we're going to now talk about the clinical learning environment, right? So didactics is one thing that is kind of, on Wednesdays, what we do in terms of our conference. And then, of course, asynchronous is what you study and do at home. But what about on shift, right? That's super important as well. So honestly, it's, the honest truth is a very, very, very busy place. And so most of the learning you get through the sheer volume of seeing patients. And you will see a lot of patients here at NYPQ. But we try to do everything in our power to optimize the clinical learning environment so that you're also learning on shift. So for example, we do bedside teaching as much as we can, but sometimes it's not necessarily by the bedside, but it is during shift sign out. We have morning sign out, we have evening sign out, and we will do walk rounds where we actually will walk from patient to patient, sometimes point out good physical findings, good physical exam findings, that sort of thing. We'll also do a lot of teaching at the computer during board rounds. We have a morning report Monday to Friday that happens religiously, where everybody stops what they're doing, comes to the trauma room, and gets sometimes just even 10, 15 minutes of education, but that can go a long way. And of course, we have teaching rounds for our students that we typically do, where we walk around from patient to patient and talk about cases that are active in the ED. We have tons of procedures and tons of scans that you are supposed to be doing anyway while you're taking care of your patients, and so we give you the time to do it. So there's never that pressure where you feel like you can't do a central line or you can't do this castor splint because the room is too busy. You are part of a team, and when you are busy doing a procedure, the rest of your team is there to help see the patients and move the room, so you have ample opportunity to do procedures and ultrasound. That last hour of your shift, you're not expected to see new patients. Obviously, somebody's critical, you're going to go see them, but you are expected to spend that hour wrapping up, right? Dispoing your patients, calling PMDs, admitting, wrapping things up. So that right at 7 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whenever rounds are, you can promptly round and you can go home on time. And of course, scribes. It's big, it's bold for a reason. When we became part of Envision a while back, one thing that they did for us was they gave us scribes. And I cannot tell you how important scribes are. They really revolutionized kind of the clinical learning environment because our residents are busy being doctors and doing what they kind of went to med school to do. They didn't go to school to write notes all day. We still have our interns write their own notes for their first year, but then they kind of graduate to using the scribes, and they use the scribes primarily for their second and third year. Love scribes. If you know a scribe or you were a scribe, big virtual hug. Scribes are awesome. And then we have residency tracks. So we actually have 9 residency tracks. I forgot to add our newest one, which is EMS. But you're going to get exposure to all of these areas just through the sheer curriculum that we provide here. But if in addition to that, if you are interested in building yourself or building a niche in emergency medicine in one of these areas, we have a track for you. And that track typically tracks are what you make of it. There are meetings and gatherings from time to time, sometimes on campus and on site, and sometimes off site at a restaurant or a bar, where you talk about topics, you talk about research, and then you partake in wellness. So residency tracks are an amazing addition to a great curriculum that's already established. Also great for if you want to secure a fellowship a little bit later on, you have ample opportunity to engage yourself in research and extracurricular activities regarding the track that then looks great on your CV for when you're doing a fellowship a few years later. We mentioned research again. It behooves you to do research here, because if you get your paper published, you get your presentation approved, you have a poster to present at New York ACEP, we will pay for you to go. We have the funds for you to go and present your scholarly activity. And so this is just a good example of essentially what we provide, up to $1,000 in your first year. All of our interns, we fund to go to New York ACEP in July. It's a great way to start off residency because you get to really know your class and you get a good glimpse of what academic emergency medicine is. Then in our second year, we send our residents to SAM. And again, they get up to $1,000 reimbursed for their trip to SAM. And then in in your third year, you go to ACEP, right? Because you have to find a job, you have to find a fellowship, and we offer a little bit more money as a stipend in your senior year because you have to go on interviews and things like that. But anytime you have a scholarly activity that is accepted, we give you up to $1,000 to go and present it. And then another great thing that we have here is a $2,000 subsidy in your senior year if you elect to go abroad and do global health work or some international project. We have up to $2,000 that we can give you and subsidize your trip abroad. So, for example, these are examples of residents who have gone abroad and done amazing things. This is Dr. Copelli when he did ultrasound in Brazil, Dr. Vortsman in Israel, and Dr. Chen in Beijing. And I kind of picked these three because they're just different eras of our residency. Obviously, I don't have any current pictures because the pandemic has kind of put a damper on this, but I think the last person that did a global health elective was Mark Gavorkian, who where did he go? He went to Peru, and he taught ultrasound in Peru. We have a great pediatrics department here as well. We have a dedicated pediatric ED with 7 PEM trained attendings. So when you're in the PED learning pediatrics, you're learning from pediatric trained ED docs. We have 17 beds. It's got this under the sea type of theme. At the end of your residency, you'll have anywhere from about 15 to 18% of your shifts will be in the PED. You do a lot of peds in your first year. You do, and then as you kind of graduate into your second year, you do a lot more trauma and critical care. And then as a third year, you're doing it all. But by the time you graduate, you will have plenty of peds experience, and you will be comfortable taking care of kids. All kinds of kids, including sick kids. It's a longitudinal experience, which means we don't just put you in the PEDS ED months at a time. It is spread out through all 3 years. So that way you're constantly revisiting PEDS and you are comfortable by the end. There's a PEDS critical care track. There's a pediatric track, pediatric critical care track, and we do a lot of pediatric simulation as well. Ultrasound is another big department within our department. This is Jeff Greco. He is the ultrasound director here at our shop. He's also the fellowship director for ultrasound. This is Tina Yang. She's one of our second years. She is ready to scan. Look at that. She's ready with her probe, all gelled up and ready to go. We have great equipment here. We actually have 2 mind rays, 2 Zenaris, bunch of butterflies, a TEE probe. We have state-of-the-art ultrasound equipment for you to scan. In general, our residents are graduating with 560 scans. You only need 125 to graduate as per ACEP. Our requirement is 400, so you will definitely get a great ultrasound experience here, and you will know how to use ultrasound when you graduate and move on into the real world. You actually have 2 dedicated months of ultrasound. In your first year, it's paired up with anesthesia and airway, and in your second year, it's kind of paired up with a research elective. And of course, we have ultrasound fellows to help in your education. There's tape review every week, which you are a part of when you're on your ultrasound months. And I can't say enough good things about ultrasound. We use it all the time. Pretty much every time you're in the trauma room, you are using it on pretty much every patient, whether it's a fast or a rush, trauma, cardiac, echo, lung, all of that. You name it, we do it. Of course, there's all the procedural stuff. This is a number of our residents in conference using the ultrasound for procedural competency. And then to complement that, simulation. What can I say about simulation? A very, very strong component of our education and didactics here. We are in the sim lab pretty much every single week. And that is really unheard of at a lot of places. You'll be happy if you see the sim lab once a month, maybe once every couple of months. We're in the sim lab every single Wednesday, almost every single Wednesday, because this is the way we learn. We learn by doing. We are highly kinesthetic learners. Emergency medicine in general, the studies have shown that we learn by doing rather than by listening or reading and writing. So this is how we learn here. We participate in Sim Wars. We have done very, very well in local and in national competitions. We won second place at SAEM. The last time SAEM was in person. This is Rich Sin, who is our sim director and our hospital sim director. And that's actually Anika Niklani over here, who is our sim fellowship director. we are building a brand new sim lab. Before COVID started, this was almost ready to go. And then because of the pandemic, this has just been put on the back burner for a little bit, but the money is there. We are building a brand new simulation lab coming soon to a theater near you. And I can't wait. Residents, I want you to talk about this slide. So why did I put this up? Because, students always ask me, will I get to do a lot of procedures? Will I get central lines? Will I get chest tubes? Do any of the residents want to comment on that?
Oh, wait, before that, can we let a couple other of the attendees in? I'm not sure if I have access. I think you do.
I think there's only two. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I think, was someone asking for it though?
So there's a couple of people that I keep saying promote. Okay, so
Oh, they got promoted. Yay. Okay, sorry. Now on to chest tubes.
There's 20 people total. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, keep an eye on that for me, and if there's more, just let me know. Residents, procedures.
I can talk about some of this. I can say for sure that there are plenty of procedures to go around, even post-pandemic. During pandemic, there was never a shortage. I mean, oftentimes, as you go up the ladder and you become more senior, you're essentially giving these away because you have so many. Yeah, I mean, even with like our off-service rotations and like, there's always an opportunity for something. I first thought I was going to be behind, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So.
Yes, so this is actually Julie Zhao. This is actually a little outdated. I think after Julie Zhao, there was Callie Coombs, and then after Callie Coombs, there is Jeremy Rickena, who this number 2412, has been beaten, and I think we're up to like 28 or 2900. But as you can see, now some of these procedures are a little bit more trivial, but obviously here you still have all your intubations, you have your central lines, you have all your ortho stuff, and resuscitations. I mean, look, it's a sick patient population, and we see a highly acute patient population. You're gonna get your trauma resuscitations in, your medical resuscitations in, without a doubt. So this is the procedural competency part. And now let's talk about resident life and resident wellness. This is some great slides of just examples of how close-knit we are as a family. These are various wellness events. This is when we all went to Lake George. We go to Lake George every single year for New York ASAP. This happened to be the PD pool party, and these are just some random nights out. But this is where I'm going to let the residents kind of take it away, as well as Dr. Niklani, if she's still there.
I'm here.
Yes. So Dr. Niklani is not only our simulation, one of our first sim fellow, and is now our simulation fellowship director, but she is also our faculty wellness champ. Everything wellness revolves around Anika. She plans great social events. She provides great lectures on wellness that are part of our curriculum. So Anika, take it away. Oh, she was here, right?
If this is not working.
We can hear you now, and I can see you.
Oh yay!
You're gonna find a spot in your apartment.
I'm gonna stand right here.
Right there.
Yes. I think we have a really, really robust wellness program. I don't know what slides you have on here, but essentially we have a very essentially a curriculum that focuses on the major parts of wellness and emergency medicine in general. As being a resident, burnout, compassion fatigue, all of the things that you have probably heard about in the news, etc. But we do about once a month. We do I get a 20-30 minute slot in conference, and I'll do a little lecture with that. We have retreats. So this is actually probably one of my favorite parts of the year. Every year we'll do 1, maybe 2 days of retreat where we'll review the program, and we'll go somewhere that's just us. We've done retreats at not Lake George, Mohawk. Last year we were out in Jersey by the beach. We did a retreat at the sculpture park up north. And it's just kind of like a really great time where everyone just gets to be together. And yeah, we talk about the year that's come, and it's mostly for to make improvements for next year. So that's actually one of the biggest wellness things. These are the random nights out. These are, maybe sometimes they're scheduled, sometimes they're not scheduled. Every month I try to do one kind of fun, one kind of like activity for wellness. So in the past we've done axe throwing. This month we're doing Halloween theme. So we're going to do an outdoor movie night plus pumpkin carvings. That'll be fun. We've done the Halloween blaze in the past. We've done like a hiking trip. So every month we'll try to do something. Obviously with COVID, it was a little bit, all that was put on the back burner, but now we have the green light to kind of move forward with some of these things. I think you saw in the picture before where we all were at Gantry Park. Sometimes we'll just do a park day. Last year we did a paint day. So that was super fun with one of our residents who is, I would say professional paint artist. And he showed us all how to paint and used all of his tools. So that was really great. In addition, we also do these well vents. So we'll do that every other month, in which it's kind of like group therapy where we'll spend maybe about 20-30 minutes and we'll talk about a particular topic. And it's essentially a time where you can kind of have a free space, a free moment for you to talk about whatever grievances that might be bothering you. It's been shown to be very helpful. A lot of the residents really like it. And it just gives you a judgment-free zone for you to get whatever it is off of your chest. And it tends to be very helpful. This is our NYPQ family, and some photographs of when we went to Lake George. That's also something that we do as an intern, New York City, ASAP. I guess in general, I feel like we're all very like a big family. Again, super corny, super corny. But it's something that one of the things that I really cherish a lot about our program.
I would definitely add to that Anika does a great job. We all do a great job of making this happen, right? So like even during the pandemic when we couldn't get together, there was just virtual this, virtual that. Even during the last interview season when everything was virtual, we had virtual socials for the applicants. We really do we get along great at work. And we get along great outside of work. And when we don't see each other and we don't hang out, we miss everybody. So I will tell you that every month that there's at least probably one, if not two, residency sponsored events. Some of them are the bigger events, the more official events. Like we have our retreat, we have our Christmas party, we have the ITE post ITE karaoke party where we all study very, very hard for the in-service exam, which is in February, and then everybody gets together and does karaoke. So I think we do a pretty good job of wellness here. We take wellness very, very seriously. I think if you're not well outside of work, you're not going to be well inside of work. But I'd also like the residents to maybe comment on kind of our wellness mantra here and kind of what we do in terms of our wellness program.
Sure, yeah, I'll take over. Yeah, I think wellness is the strongest one in this residency. I actually rotated here as a student, and that's the one thing that really, attracted me to this program. We have Wednesdays after conference is protected time for us. So we all usually go out together. I think it was about 2 Wednesdays ago. We had journal club. We went out to a brewery. Then we went to the Met game. Then a bunch of us had gone out to a bar after. So So I think the wellness events really bring us all together, and we're really close. I think we're all like friends here, and I think when you're working with friends, it doesn't really feel like work.
Very good. So, yeah. So, I mean, this is it in terms of our slides per se. I just wanted to end with this slide only because it is an access to essentially all of our social media sites, including our residency Instagram, which is great. I highly recommend that you take a look at that. But then we also have our own NYPQ simulation Instagram. Jeff Greco is here. I'm actually going to let him. I think he was taking care of his kid for a little bit, but now he's on with us. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit as well. You can talk about ultrasound as well as ultrasound. Doesn't ultrasound also have its own Instagram? It's very clever. It's called Greco's Echoes. You get it? It's really, really cool.
That's true.
So I'm going to go back to the simulation page. This is the one and only Jeff Greco. Jeff, you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Jeff Greco. I'm the ultrasound director and fellowship director for ultrasound. Sorry for my appearance. Like Preek said, I've been taking care of my sick daughter today, so I feel a little bit beat up. More beat up than an overnight shift. But yeah, so I've been the ultrasound director, I think, for 2+ years now. I've been at NYPQ for a little over 3, and everything that's been said about the patient population in terms of the gratitude, the community, and the acuity is true. I trained in a nearby health system and a nearby residency, and I was amazed when I first came over at the acute. I've been warned a little bit. Yep, I'm a black cloud as well. But still, I'd been warned a little bit of the acuity. And after like 2 weeks, I think I texted my mentor back at residency who had worked here before coming to my program where I trained. And I had just like a laundry list of ridiculous cases that I had seen that I didn't really see all that much in my own residency program. As far as ultrasound's concerned, I think we made tremendous strides over the past couple of years. I'm very excited. I think there's a lot of buy-in, not just from the administrators, but from the residents as well, which is evident in the ultrasound track having the largest amount of residents in it. Forgot to mention that, but we have the most residents in our track. So we went out a couple weeks ago, did a little journal club, and had some dinner and drinks. As far as the fellowship goes, we're interviewing right now. We're actually just wrapping up tomorrow. We've had over 25 applicants, I think, so I'll be very happy when the interviews are done. But we'll be matching 2 fellows, and then there's a lot of other good things going on within the ultrasound division in terms of a new machine we're getting any day now. I think the probes have just shipped that we're going to be doing a lot of our teaching bedside studies on, because it's got some of the advanced features that we want to do more of and immerse our residents more in. And then we have a TE probe. We're working on a protocol to use that in cardiac arrest. We just bought a ultrasound simulator for our sim lab to just further enhance our pretty robust simulation departments. So a lot of good things going on ultrasound wise. I've been pretty proud of everything my colleagues have been doing to move us in the right direction.
Thank you, Jeff. So it is now 7:30. We kind of started late, and I apologize to everyone again about the mix-up with the 2 links. But I think we're all here now. I made all the attendees panelists. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and it looks like we're all just here in a room now. We're all panelists. Do any of the first of all, do any of the residents want to say anything? And then second, do any of the students have any questions? Don't be shy. For those of you who came late because you guys were in the other link, again, we really apologize about that. But this will be recorded and we're going to put it on our blog. So, if you missed the first part of this, feel free to watch it on our blog. But if you guys have any questions right now for any of us, for residents, I think I'll address one of the questions that some people were asking about the shifts. So, you know, before we were purely 12-hour shifts. And look, over time, this has evolved into a combination of 8s and 12s. Look, all the studies show that, you know, for everybody's sanity and your own wellness, 8-hour shifts are really the way to go. Honestly, 10-hour shifts are the best probably, but we introduced 8-hour shifts, you know, just before the pandemic, and it really worked. And I got to tell you, I would say the majority of our residents like the 8-hour shifts and prefer the 8-hour shifts. Yes, it's true that you might be here more at the hospital, but there's a lot to be said about, you know, going to work for 8 hours and then coming home and being able to have dinner with your loved ones, or being able to go to the gym, or being able to study and all of that. So we do a combination of 8s and 12s. As an intern, you do 204 hours, which, you know, if you think about it in 12s, it's about 17 shifts, a little less than that actually. As a senior, sorry, as a PGY2, you're doing 192 hours, which is basically 16 12-hour shifts. And then, of course, as a senior, you do less, and that is 180 hours, which is 15 12-hour shifts. And if you're a chief resident and you're elected a chief resident, you'll do one less shift, and that's 168 hours. So that's kind of our shift breakdown. If you are interested in knowing about our clinical curriculum, that's also on our website and our blog. Our clinical curriculum is pretty standard. We have 4 critical care months total, which is what ACGME requires. In your first year, you do MICU, right? And that gives you a really good foundation of everything critical care, including vents and respiratory pulmonology, respiratory physiology, all of that stuff. And then as you go into your second year, you do a month in the SICU. We send you to University of Pennsylvania, UPenn in Philly, to do a trauma experience. And the reason we do that is because we are Flushing, Queens, and we do not see a ton of penetrating trauma, but you guys still need you know, experience in penetrating trauma. So many New York programs do this because many New York programs don't see the amount of penetrating trauma that you see in other places. So we send our residents to UPenn. That's a great rotation. It's a 4-week rotation that we send. And then we have 2 weeks of pediatric critical care. And we also have another 2 weeks of medicine critical care, where you're actually part of the RRT team, responding to rapid responses all throughout the hospital. So that's kind of our critical care curriculum. We do not send you to the floors. So that's very important to know, that as a first year, you are not doing scut work on the floors. You have your standard OB, 4 weeks of OB. You have 4 weeks of ortho over the 2 years. You have 2 weeks of, 4 weeks of tox. You have 2 weeks of EMS. You have 2 weeks of admin. We have 2 weeks of research and medical education. So quite a bit of rotations scattered kind of throughout your 3 years. And it's all posted on the website for you guys to take a look at. Anybody else? All right. Well,
I have a question.
oh yeah. Oh, perfect. Samuel.
Hi, nice to meet you. From Sophie Davis or CUNY. Thank you guys for hosting. So my question is, because I kind of was in the other link, so I don't know if you guys touched on it, but like, how is the ED broken down? Is it by acuity or is it by something else? And are interns seeing the highest acuity from day one, or are they slowly transitioned? And thank you.
So we have I think a good ED has to be well organized, right? So we have different sections and different sections of the ED that are kind of part and parceled out. If you want to call it a pod system, it's a pod system. But we have our main ED, right, which is your basically 21 and older. It's your adult ED, and we have 3 separate teams that are seeing kind of the majority of the patients. And those are your abdominal pains, chest pains, this, that, right? You're kind of your typical bread and butter emergency medicine. And there's 2 teams that are 24/7, which is the blue team and the green team, and that they're kind of 2 separate pods. And there's a team on each pod, and that pod will always be 1 attending. It'll be 1 senior resident, and then multiple junior residents. Sometimes you'll have a swing, sometimes you won't, and then you also have a scribe on that side. So it's a pod system with a great teamwork. Now, blue and green are 24/7, and then you have a gold team that comes in for 12 hours a day, and that really helps with the volume as well. And then basically every 3rd patient that comes into the ED, into the main ED, if they go to the main ED, you'll see them, right? So it'll go to your team. Then all the critical patients go to the red team, and there is which is the trauma room, right? And so there's all your strokes, GI bleeds, MIs, all of that stuff, all the critical patients. And you're managing the sickest of the sick, and that's typically 1 attending with usually 1 resident. So that 1 resident gets, generally gets all the procedures. When we have trauma resuscitations and codes, everybody kind of comes to the trauma room to help out. So that's kind of a really good system that we have with trauma alphas and bravos and our codes. Now, interns, you had mentioned interns, right? So interns right from the beginning are involved and are exposed to critical care. We do so they used to have no trauma shifts their first year, and then I don't know. This is where kind of feedback comes into play. When residents give us feedback, we listen, right? We listen, and the feedback was like, "Hey, we wish we had a little bit more exposure to critical care from the get-go." And so now, when they are on an EM month, they have at least 1 out of their 16, 17 shifts is in the trauma room, and they're called what we call the trauma shadow. So many times in the trauma room, you have the attending, a senior resident, and an intern, right? So there is exposure to the trauma room and critical care right from the beginning. And in addition, they get procedures, right? And also the trauma team, the red team only exists from 9 a.m. to 1. So at night, sometimes at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's the blue team and the green team taking care of the sick patients. So you definitely do get exposure. I'll let maybe some of the residents speak to that as well. But other than the main ED, we also have urgent care, and we also have pediatrics. So we kind of have, several sections, and it all kind of works very well, like a well lubricated machine. Yeah. Any of the residents want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would just add too that one thing that I really appreciated when I was an intern is that if we had a sick patient pop up on our board, I would go with the senior and we'd see it together, and we kind of go over the differentials and what immediate interventions we would take. And that's something that we've really been making an effort to do on shift too. Is we have a sick patient pop up on the board, the whole team will go together and see them. So you definitely see like high acuity patients your intern year.
Yeah, I'll just like piggyback on that. Like, I feel like we have these divisions of like critical care team, red team, and then the green blue team. But sometimes things get so busy in the critical care side that it just kind of like overflows into the main, and or things that aren't like immediately flagged as a notification or like an EMS like alert, like a stroke or a respiratory failure. They might just go to the main, and you'll realize that the person's a lot sicker than what was initially thought. So I think it's not infrequent for interns and pretty much every year to have sick patients or to have somebody that needs to get some sort of procedure or some sort of critical care done. Whether it's day, but especially at night when the red team is winding down.
I was just looking at the chat here, and yes, I mean, so I mentioned that there's not as much penetrating trauma, let's say, as maybe Kings County or Brookdale or Jacoby, but we still see penetrating trauma. We had a thoracotomy the other day, so it happens. It just doesn't happen with the frequency that some other places do, and that's why we send our residents to trauma. And I'll speak to Tara Holmes's question. Yeah, so Flushing is super Asian, right? So that's when I had mentioned the diversity earlier. I know some of you weren't there, but it's 30% of our patients are of Eastern Asian origin, right? So primarily Chinese, but also some Korean. But we have great translator services. And much of our staff is also very ethnically diverse, and so you can always find a nurse or a tech or somebody just in your staff to help translate. But I hate the word language barrier because I don't really think that it's a barrier. I mean, we have the resources here to really communicate well with our patients. There's also, a lot of people, look at it. Oh, it's the Asian hospital, but it's also a Hispanic hospital. I mean, 20% of our patients are Spanish speaking and of Hispanic origin. So there's that. We still have a lot of African American patients. We have a lot of Russian patients. We have a lot of Indian patients. The diversity is quite intense here. Anybody else? We're more than happy to answer any questions.
Hi, my name's Ambika. I'm from Rolling Som. I'm a fourth year, and I'm not sure if I missed this, but I just wanted to know, where do the residents usually end up after graduation? Do they go into the hospitals immediately or enter fellowships?
So it's variable every single year. I will tell you that as the years are progressing, more and more people are going into fellowship. And I think that's just the trend in emergency medicine in general. I will tell you, 5-10 years ago, if you asked me, do you have to go into a fellowship? The answer was definitely not. I think the answer is still, you don't have to go into a fellowship, and I highly advise you not to go into a fellowship if you're really not interested in that fellowship. Don't go into a fellowship because you drink this Kool-Aid that you're not going to find a job unless you get a fellowship. Yes, I think a fellowship makes you more marketable in the end, but if your heart is not in something, then don't do a fellowship. But yeah, like this year, I will say about 7 or 8 of my residents out of 10 are going into fellowship. Last year, it was about the same. I think we had 3 doctors out of 9 that went into community jobs, and the rest went into fellowship. And then some years, like I remember class of 2015, everybody was like, one person went into fellowship and everybody else just went to Texas to make money because that was the thing back then. So it can be very variable. And a lot of people end up staying in New York because they're from this area, or people just go back to where they're from. California, Texas, Florida are big. And we have, they get a variety of different jobs. Some of them do community jobs. Some of them do academic jobs. Some of them, are part of CMGs, contract medical groups, big groups like Envision or Team Health, and some are smaller groups. The variety is definitely there. But I've never had a resident not get a job that they really want or not get a fellowship that they really want. The training here really optimizes your chance to get the career of your choice. What I will also say is, even if you don't do a fellowship, I do think that it is a good idea somewhere along the line to build a niche within emergency medicine, because I think later on that does help with your marketability. And it also, I think, prevents burnout, right? So if you're just a community doc, and there's nothing wrong with that, the studies have shown that there's maybe a higher chance that you might get tired of what you do and get burnt out sooner. Whereas if you have 1 to 2 shifts a week instead of 3 to 4, and you're doing something else, you're less likely to, kind of reach that burnout point.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else?
How does one build a niche or niche?
Niche, yes. It's niche or niche. I don't know. I think it's niche. I don't know.
I think you can say either, but I don't know. I think niche sounds cooler though.
Yes, it sounds more like proper and British, and all right. Well, if nobody has any other questions, I guess we can say
that was the question.
What's that? Oh,
That was an actual question. I think that's a good question. It's like almost too big of a question to answer.
That's a very philosophical question.
But I think, I mean, that's a question I think everyone kind of asks themselves, not to like drag this on. If people have to leave, they can leave. But the question is, I think, what are you look into what you're interested in? Like I was always interested in education. Even before I went to medical school, I was interested in education. And so once I decided on emergency medicine, it became more and more obvious that I wanted to build a career in that and do a fellowship in that. It might not be the same for you. You might like be like, I don't know what I'm interested in, and then you go into emergency medicine as an intern, and then maybe you get to work a shift with Dr. Greco, and you're like, oh, I love ultrasound, and you're like, wow, this is so cool. I can do so many things. Or maybe it's like you build a career in palliative care and emergency medicine, like one of our residents is applying right now. So you'll see, but it'll kind of like maybe make itself obvious to you as you go through residency, or like hopefully it will, and then you just build on that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say that yeah, there's no set formula and it's still early on for you guys. I think it's one step at a time. There's no rush. So for now, you know that you love and are intrigued by emergency medicine. I think that you'll find something that you gravitate towards, or something that leaves a question mark, something that you're really intrigued by. And I think that will flourish inside of you. I think emergency medicine, people in general have a lot of varied interests, and you kind of love everything. That's a common theme that I get from our applicants who decide upon EM. They're like, I really enjoyed a lot of medical school, all of my clinical rotations, and I feel like there's no specific rush. But I hope you find your niche or niche.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Feel
you.
free to email if you have any additional questions.
Exactly.
Attending's email addresses are on the website, and we appreciate you taking the time.
And make sure you check out our blog and social media. Bye, everyone.
Thank you to my residents for being here too on your nights off. You guys are amazing.